Hello and welcome to our weekly news programme Winchester Now. I'm Mary Blacksland. Coming up, we hear about the growing problem of hygiene poverty in Winchester. We discover about the new Winchester Women's Shed and meet the city's powerlifting champion who's preparing for her next competition at 70 years old. Our news roundup and shout-outs too. Winchester Radio. It's an often hidden but real problem. Hygiene poverty is where individuals and families are unable to afford personal products such as deodorant or shampoo, or household products such as washing powder. Winchester Hygiene Bank was set up in June last year to try to help. It works alongside other organisations such as the Basics Bank and food pantries, and is now starting work in schools. This week, shoppers donated hundreds of goods to a collection point at Tesco in Winnell. And volunteers say raising awareness is also important. Here's project coordinator Lynn Gibson.
There was a report commissioned by YouGov in conjunction with the Hygiene Bank, the national charity, in 2022. And that estimated that there was in excess of 3 million people in the UK suffering from hygiene poverty. And that includes in Winchester district, actually. I suspect now with the cost of living crisis, those numbers have increased significantly. And that is adults, children, babies, teens, and families. I think it crosses all group of individuals, actually. A high proportion of youngsters, 16 to 24-year-olds, are impacted by hygiene poverty, as are disabled groups, working adults. There's also not working, ethnic minorities. I think it's fair to say that there's not a particular type or individual that potentially wouldn't be impacted by hygiene poverty.
And hygiene poverty can have a real impact, can't it, on someone's life?
It can. And actually, the most noted impact is the impact on mental health, with a high proportion of people living in hygiene poverty feeling anxious or depressed. We're quite familiar with other types of poverty, I think, food poverty, fuel poverty. But hygiene poverty is a poverty that is often more hidden and perhaps not so well known. But it can be, I think, one of the most oppressive kinds of poverty because it blocks routes out of poverty, and it can lead to self-isolation and therefore restricts access to employment, education and healthcare opportunities. People just do not go to things that would be to their benefit if they don't feel clean, especially if you think of children who suffer through no fault of their own from hygiene poverty. There is an enormous loss of confidence, the same for young adults. They go from wanting to conquer the world to, really not wanting to have very much to do with the world. There's also the aspect of isolation from their peers, and children who don't feel clean, can sometimes be bullied and ostracised. And I think the impacts of hygiene poverty on mental health stay with adults, individuals, families, children, teens, young adults for long after they may have progressed beyond the actual hygiene poverty. So the sooner we can stop hygiene poverty by, assisting and meeting needs, the better, really. The other thing to say about hygiene poverty is that there is a shame and stigma associated with it for individuals who suffer from it. And that, in turn, stops people from asking for help. So it is hidden, it's oppressive, and it is widespread. And it is certainly here in Winchester.
So tell me a bit about what you and your volunteers are doing to try and help with this.
Okay, so one of the things we try and do is to make hygiene products, personal and household, readily available and accessible to those who need them. We essentially collect and distribute hygiene products. We also fundraise to buy hygiene products that are needed but not donated either at all or in insufficient quantities. So to collect the products, we have donation boxes around the city in Sainsbury's in Badger Farm, Waitrose in Week. We have a collection box in Boots in the High Street and Boots at Week. We have a collection box at Richmond House Beauty in Otterbourne. We have the Spa Shop Village stores and Hursley Village stores, the Body Shop in Winchester High Street, and last but not least at Tesco's in Winnell. We also fundraise, as I've said, and we've been fortunate to get some grants from Hampshire County Council and from Winchester City Council. We're also fortunate that people will have collections for us. I was able to pick up a big donation from HSBC over at Whiteley the other day. I think they just decided on the morning of International Women's Day and did it. So that was brilliant.
You work with places like the Basics Bank, Unit 12, Home Start, but you're also doing some work at the moment with schools as well.
Actually, that's a really good point, because I didn't sort of explain how people get the products. So we collect the products. We and our volunteers, we sort of go and empty our bins, and then we distribute them via our community partners. So we donate the products to them. So our current community partners are Winchester Basics Bank. I think to date we've nearly given them about 2 ton of products, which if you think of what a toothbrush weighs, that's quite a lot of products since we opened in June. Another community partner are the pantries, so Unit 12 Pantry, and delighted that the Carol Pantry has recently come on board. We provide family packs for Home Start and Friends of the Family, Winchester District. We also work with Trinity and with Beacon. But going to what you've said, yes, with schools. So our grant monies from Hampshire County Council were to provide emergency or essential hygiene packs to 200 families across the Winchester district via schools. We won't identify the families. We're asking them to identify the families that might benefit from a pack of things that might help to relieve hygiene poverty for a family that perhaps is feeling the stress and the impact on the children in a sort of quiet way and really wouldn't routinely access a food bank or a pantry. If there are any schools interested, then the details will either be on our Facebook page or on our Instagram account, or they can email me at winchester@thehygienebank.com.
So you're doing wonderful work, and there's clearly a lot of need for this. If there's people listening to this today, what can they do to try and help you?
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. I suppose the most straightforward thing is please donate in our boxes. And the important thing to say about our boxes is that actually we accept any new unused hygiene products. So if you have unwanted gifts at home, or you have a purchase that you really have no idea why you bought it, providing things are in date and have been unused, we can accept them. The other thing is obviously add a product or an item to your weekly shop. Maybe pop a note on your shopping list and try, if you can, to donate something to us as often as you are able. The other thing people can do to help us is actually fundraising, no matter how big or small. And if people want to organise a product collection, that would be fantastic as well. Other volunteer roles, if people wanted to get in touch to maybe do a pickup or a delivery, I think if you feel that you want to help, but you're not sure how, just get in touch with us. We will be delighted to hear from you. The more help we have, the more products we can get, the more funds we can raise, the more people we can make a difference to.
And you can find out more online at thehygienebank.com. That's thehygienebank.com. 15 new almshouses were opened in Winchester this week to support those in need in the Winchester district. Work began to convert the empty building in Colebrook Street in March 2021. The flats are owned and run by the charity St John's Winchester and are designed for people over 60 years old. The Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire, Nigel Atkinson, performed the official unveiling.
Now with some news stories in and around our city this week, I'm Ron Venturi. A new free event in Winchester to help women experiencing the menopause has had such a huge response that organisers have added extra dates. The city's first Menopause Cafe is taking place at the Cabinet Rooms next Thursday and is already fully booked, as is the second event in April. But there is a waiting list and a third date has been added for the 16th of May. Organiser Sharon Worth says it clearly indicates the need to talk about such an important topic. 3 properties in Winchester, owned by Hampshire County Council, are going up for sale. They are the Three Minsters House on the High Street, Four Chimneys Family Centre near Andover Road, and the County Council's Monarch Way site near Romsey Road. The buildings will close to staff later this year, with services relocating to other buildings in the city. The authority says the changes have been made possible as many of the staff work remotely or deliver services in the community. A new initiative to provide pastoral support to 4 Stanmore schools has received a grant of £1,250. A few months ago we told you about the School Pastor Scheme, which was launched by Winchester Street Pastors to support young people in the local community. The grant money from the City Council's Neighbourhood Services and Community Engagement team will provide the new team with uniforms and training. I'll have more news in brief later in the programme.
Now, we often hear about the Men's Shed organisation, but did you know Winchester Now has a Women's Shed? They meet once a week on a Tuesday night at St Mary's Church Hall in Kingsworthy, a chance for women to do crafts together, learn new skills and make new friends. And like the Men's Shed, the idea aims to combat loneliness and isolation. Here's organiser Michelle Savoy.
It was started back before COVID. It was set up for women who just wanted to get together, get out of the house, that enjoy crafting or learning new skills. And then obviously when COVID hit, it died down for a bit. And now in the last month, we've restarted it. Members that used to be members before were saying, when are you going to restart? We missed the group, we missed the contact. So we've been going a month now.
So do you feel there's a need for something like this in this area?
Absolutely. So we've had lots of people reaching out. Obviously we've been posting across social media and lots of ladies have reached out to ask if it's suitable for all ages, and it is a real mix of ages, so it's something that doesn't require you to go and spend money. You can come along, you can learn new skills or bring what you're working on to just work on whilst mixing with other women.
And what sort of things are people doing?
So we've got ladies that crochet, we've got people that bring along their paper craft work. Myself, I don't craft, so I come along, but I do love to do a bit of mindfulness, which is so I do the colouring. I know we've got somebody that comes in, she does a bit of resin work, so she sets flowers in resin, so I think that might be something that we share amongst the group at a later date. Anything you've got that you're crafting on.
And why do you think it's so important to have something like this? What do people get out of coming along?
I think it's really good for mental health. A lot of people sometimes are shut away, don't get to go out, so it gives them something to get out of the house for, so you're not on your own, surrounded by other ladies. They feel safe while sharing a craft or learning stuff together. You're also out of the house, mixing with other people and being able to talk and support each other.
And there's quite a few men's sheds around. It's nice to have something for the women as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, and we'd love to grow it. We'd really love to grow it and get some more things going. So over the last 3-4 weeks, we've seen the members increasing already, which is really nice. So as we carry on over the few months, we'd like to see people coming in to teach wider skills and, just sharing more between the group.
And like you said, they don't have to pay much, do they, to come along?
No, it's just £2 per week, and that is it's not a profit-making group, it is literally just to cover the rent of the hall where we meet, and I think it's a donation for tea or coffee, so it's not much at all.
And just listening to people now chatting away, there must be real friendships being made here today.
There is, it's a real friendly group, so I walked in, when the first week in, not knowing anybody, but then there's always a friendly, smiley face there to go, hi, and welcome you in when you first come through the door, so that's really nice. And lots of people getting to know each other as the weeks go on.
And what would you say to encourage other people to come along? Like you say, it's open to anyone, any age.
It is open to any ladies, any age to come along. There literally is a large range of ages here, from young 20s up to, I'd say, probably 70s. Everybody's welcome. If you're not sure where we are, then you can drop us a message on the Facebook page or via our email. We're happy to answer any questions and even meet you outside if it's your first time and you're nervous walking in.
And how can people get in touch?
So we've got a Facebook page called Winchester Women's Shed, and our details are on there.
Michelle Savoy from the Winchester Women's Shed talking to Winchester Now.
Work starts on Monday on a major road in Winchester. Stanmore Lane will be closed for up to 16 days for essential road repairs. It will remain open for pedestrians, but will be closed to traffic from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekdays, reopening outside of these working hours. A consultation is beginning on plans to expand Shepherd's Down School. The proposed £800,000 project would provide 2 extra classrooms, supporting an additional 20 primary-aged pupils with severe learning difficulties. The expansion would take the number of pupils from 170 to 190 and could be open from September this year. The County Council says it continues to face rising demand for special educational needs provision. An appeal has been made for participants in this year's Pedal Paddle Pace Challenge. The annual event involves a 20-kilometre bike ride, followed by a 5-kilometre run and a 2-kilometre kayak along the River Itchen. Organised by Winchester Roundtable to raise money for the Motor Neurone Disease Association, the 2024 event is being held on Sunday the 7th of July. And a special event is taking place on Good Friday outside the front of Winchester Cathedral. Organised by Churches Together in Winchester, the family-friendly gathering runs from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. and features a storyteller, activities for adults and children, and eggs to give away.
She recently won 4 gold medals at the European Powerlifting Championships, and soon she'll be competing to retain her British and world titles. Marina Cornwall is 70 years old and has been powerlifting now for more than a decade. She works as a personal trainer at the Winchester Sports and Leisure Centre and met Winchester Radio there to talk about how it all started and how she feels about being called an inspiration to others.
First of all, Mary, I was a professional bodybuilder. At the time, I was training for the first series of London Weekend Television Gladiators. So I was going down to a gym which had the monkey bars and the jet run and everything that I needed for the training for Gladiators. And it was there that the owner of the gym suggested that I have a go at bodybuilding. And I said, what, me? But I'm tiny. He said, no, I think you'll do extremely well. So I started training towards bodybuilding initially. I did the usual thing by being last, and then I qualified for the British finals, and then I won 5th and 3rd and 2nd, then I won the British 3 times. Then I went to America and I got my pro card in 2005. And then I used to have a sponsor called CMP, and we were one day exhibiting next door to the Strongman event, and I was thinking, you know, I'd love to have a go at a strong event. So I decided I wanted to take up powerlifting. I've always felt that I'm quite strong for my size. So I found a world champion that was in the local area in Gosport. He said, what would you like to achieve? I said, I would like to compete in powerlifting. That's how it came about. So I did my first competition in Dover. I nearly got disqualified my first competition because with powerlifting there's certain rules, and when you're used to training on your own, you're used to squatting and putting the bar back yourself, and of course I just stepped forward because I'm used to doing it on my own, and I nearly got disqualified for my first competition. So that's how it all came about.
And you've just had incredible success in the European Championships. What did that mean to you?
It meant a lot, actually, Mary, because I had a 5-year break because 2018 I was British, World, European and Commonwealth champion. Sadly, later that year I lost my mother. And then 2019 I'd lost my focus. I started training for a strongman event, so I was going to pull a vehicle for Mummy for cancer research. And then we went into lockdown, and sadly all the gyms got closed down. But prior to that I was training with a strongman from Southampton. I was doing well, and then sadly he died of COVID at age 31. When we were in lockdown I had no weights at home, so I couldn't train, so I felt like I got really weak. I mean, we were in lockdown nearly 3 years, and so I had a break for 5 years. So last year I won the British and the World, so it was my first time back on the platform after 5 years. So it was a massive achievement for me, and then just to have just won the Europeans just recently, yeah, I was over the moon, winning another 4 gold medals.
And like you say, people might be surprised because you are so tiny. And
Yeah.
How much can you lift? Tell our audience what you can do.
On the deadlift, which is pulling the bar up from the floor, I'm only 42 kilos, and my personal best has been 126 kilos, which is nearly 3 times my body weight. My squat has been 85 kilos, so nearly double my body weight. My bench press has been the weakest because my shoulder is completely torn. I have lifted heavier than my body weight. My best has been 51 kilos, but I'm not close to those totals at the moment, but I'm working my way back up to achieving what I achieved before. But I've done sufficiently enough to win all those titles.
And you celebrated your 70th birthday just before the championships. What do you make of people saying you're an inspiration?
I think it's really lovely. I think what's probably somewhat annoying is that you look good for your age, or are you still competing, or, you know, when do you retire? Like, why should we retire? That we get to a certain age and that we're expected to retire almost. I hope I can keep going as long as I can, keep inspiring people to keep moving, to keep training. I myself got diagnosed with osteoporosis last year, which was a real shock because I've been lifting weights since I was in my 30s. So for me to have got diagnosed with that was a bit of a shock. So I dread to think what my bones might have been like if I hadn't been training all that time and lifting weights. I think women are fearful of lifting weights, but they don't have to be heavy weights. So long as we are increasing our bone density, it's so important for us to prevent the onset of osteoporosis.
And what are your plans for the future then? What's the next competition? Where do you go from here?
Well, my next one is in about 15 weeks, Mary, so I'm off to Belfast to retain my British title. So I hope to do that, but I've obviously gone up an age category now, so I'm not sure who I'll be up against. I know when I go to the Worlds, hopefully if I can afford it, later on in the year, which will be in South Africa. So we've got the Worlds and the Commonwealth within 2 weeks of one another. I know there is going to be an American lady that will be in the same age category as me, and she is somewhat stronger than me. I've competed against her before and I have beaten her on certain lifts, so that's going to be a challenge, but I'm hoping to just do my best.
You said earlier you like to inspire other people. What would you say to people wanting to take up another sport or take up something like you're doing?
Yes, I think the most important thing, first of all, is to make sure that you're fit and healthy and you've got no health issues before you participate in any sport. Make sure that you're fit enough to do whatever you're wanting to take on as a challenge. That would be the most important thing, I think. And then go for it. Why not? You can achieve anything you want if you put your mind to it.
Marina Cornwall talking to Winchester Radio, and we'll keep you up to date with her upcoming challenges. Good luck to her.
Hi, Paul Blitz back here again after taking a week off. It's time for this week's shout-out. So, Winchester Hospital has given a big thank you to everyone who bought books, games and activities for children in the emergency department. Hampshire Hospital's charity put together an Amazon wish list and were delighted with the purchases. Let's hope the goods will make visits a little bit more comfortable for the younger patients. Now, have you seen little red boxes in shops, cafes and businesses around Winchester asking for spare change for lasting change? The appeal raises money to provide accommodation, advice and support to people experiencing homelessness. Well, Winchester Bid and the City Council, who coordinate the scheme, have given a thank you to everyone who's donated over the last year and to all the businesses who have displayed collection boxes. £1,800 will be shared between the charities Trinity and Winchester Beacon. Congratulations to all the recipients of the High Sheriff of Hampshire Awards. Among those awarded was the head verger of Winchester Cathedral, Darren Gibb, for his 20 years in the role. The High Sheriff Awards celebrate people who make the region a safer place to live. 23 people and volunteer groups were honoured as a special celebration at the Cathedral's Wessex Learning Centre. And Winchester City Council's Ukraine team has been shortlisted in the Local Government Chronicle Awards in June. The team was formed to help people from Ukraine settling in the district following their escape from war. Their work has supported more than 280 Ukrainian families, including organising languages and skills workshop, providing assistance with accommodation, and arranging and supporting a number of cultural events. And finally, a drum roll for Swithun School, who are celebrating sporting success. The under-15 lacrosse side have been crowned National Schools Champions. The team came from 2-0 down to defeat Claremont Fancourt 3-2 in the final and take home the trophy. Pupils say it's a day they will never forget. More shout-outs for you next week.
Winchester Radio.
And one more shout out before we go is a happy 5th birthday to Winchester Radio. This week marks 5 years since we launched our community radio station across Winchester and the surrounding area. The station of course existed before that as Winchester Hospital Radio, and that was set up 40 years ago this year, so a double celebration. And that's all from our news programme for this week. We'll be back next Friday, and so goodbye until then.
You've been listening to Winchester Now. We hope you've enjoyed this weekly programme from Winchester Radio. If you have a story to share with us, please let us know. You can drop us an email. We're news@winchester.radio, and you can follow us on social media platforms. Just search for Winchester Radio.
Winchester Radio.